Welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Dennis DeJesus. He is the CEO of Special Olympics Rhode Island. He's been on the show a couple of years ago, but it's a pleasure to have him back. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sean. Good to be back.
For those who aren't familiar with Special Olympics Rhode Island, sort of give a background.
Sure. We were founded back in 1968. We're an athletic organization that serves those with intellectual disabilities. We have 3,000 athletes in our program from throughout Rhode Island, and those 3,000 athletes are on about 50 teams. So they train with their local teams, and then we at Special Olympics Rhode Island take all of those teams and place them into athletic competition and organize them. Train coaches, we train staff, all in an attempt to make sure that the athletic experience is a quality one for the athletes that are enrolled in our program. So busy. January through December, we offer 25 Olympic-style sports. So our athletes are very, very busy when it comes to athletic training and competition.
Now, for those with the intellectual disabilities, why is athletics important? Why is that a good thing for them?
Well, it just builds confidence.
Yeah.
You get on an athletic field, whether you're an athlete, a partner, or without a disability, and you play sports, and you grow in self-confidence, you grow in self-esteem, and that's very important for people with intellectual disabilities. For many of them, they've been shunned, they've been put to the side, and when they get involved in athletics and they get some type of success like anyone else, it builds your confidence and self-esteem. So we have found over the years that our athletes continue to develop and grow in the sense that they are now becoming true members of their community, contributing members of their community. They now go to school in our communities. They live in our communities. They work in our communities. And I think a reason for the success that they have achieved begins on the athletic fields of Special Olympics.
Now, let's get one of the misconceptions out of the way right off the bat, because we were talking about this off the air a little bit. When people think of Special Olympics and the athletes, they think of younger people, they think of kids, and that's not necessarily the case, is it?
Yeah, not a week goes by without someone saying to me, "I love your kids."
Yeah.
And we have athletic programs. We have athletes competing well into their 60s and 70s who started back in 1960 when competitions began. So now what we're introducing, Sean, we're introducing some new sports. We're introducing bocce, croquet, bowling, all non-impact sports that keeps an older athlete involved. When you hit 50, 60, you don't want to play the basketball and the volleyball and the flag football anymore. You want something a little low impact. So the new sports are keeping our athletes active and alive and vital. So that's an important part of our mission.
You mentioned impact sports. You see in regular sports nowadays I guess you could say the concern over things like concussions or just flat out getting too rough. When you see things like that, do you take notice of it for yourself when you are sort of looking at your own sports and how it's all set up?
Absolutely. Many of our athletes come in with health issues above and beyond those without disabilities. And concussions, just like anything else, plays, is a serious concern. Whenever we have a regional or a statewide event, we have a medical team on hand at all times. We cannot take the risk or take the chance of calling a rescue. We want someone on the scene at all times. It is a concern. It's a concern that families have, our athletes have, and we as an organization take it very, very seriously.
How plugged in are you to how does it work with the National Special Olympics? And then you were talking about it regionally a little bit and also Rhode Island itself.
Each state in the United States has a state program under the direction of their own state board of directors. So we have a board of directors that I answer to. However, there is a Special Olympics North America and a Special Olympics International. And they're setting strategic plans and policy issues that are then handed down to the state local programs. But basically, the local programs are autonomous. They have their own governing body, like I said, the board of directors. Very rarely do you see the national or international come down with any type of discipline for a CEO or for
Yeah,
an
I never hear
executive
about
director.
that.
Nothing like that.
You guys are all good.
Yeah, yeah, you're wonderful.
Yeah.
But we, we work very, very closely with the people at Special Olympics International, Special Olympics North America, to make sure we're all on the same page strategically going forward. So it's an important, very, very important thing that we need to keep that relationship going and strong.
Do you feel that Special Olympics in general gets enough notoriety, enough mentions in the press? Because if you see things like, for example, the NFL's big with breast cancer. They put the big pink ribbon on the field,
Yeah.
and that's big. Now, do you think, I know coming on shows like this, you do what you can to promote upcoming events and things like that, but is the word getting out?
Oh, I think absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a big event coming up in June that I didn't mention off the air that I should have, called the May, it's going to come through Rhode Island, the Unified Relay Across America. And World Games this year are being held in Los Angeles the end of July, beginning of August. So there are going to be 3 torches, the northern part of the country, central and southern part of the country, and those torches are going to touch every single state, making their way across to Los Angeles. And the sponsors, ESPN,
Wow.
WWE, ABC, Microsoft,
Wow.
Bank of America.
The big boys.
You have some major, major sponsors, and I truly believe, if successful, this unified relay will cast a large spotlight on what's going on throughout the world for Special Olympics. We talk about it, state by state. There are now 4 million athletes in 140 countries throughout the world.
Wow.
Participating in Special Olympics. The Shriver family, which founded Special Olympics, Eunice Kennedy Shriver, the Shriver family likes to say it's the largest social movement in the history of the world, all around those with intellectual disabilities.
It's hard to say no to when you're asked to be involved in some way, and that could really be any way, financially or, in some way participatory as far as a volunteer maybe or something like that. But, when you automatically know what it is when you hear about it, and you really kind of want to be involved in some way.
We always say about our volunteers, if we get you to one event, we got you hooked.
Yeah.
You're coming back. There's no way you can say no. So, and our sponsors, especially in Rhode Island, have been with us years and years and years.
I was going to
We've had
ask
some
you about
great
that.
sponsors.
Corporate sponsorship, especially since, there was a time not too long ago that we were in a recession. I guess we're kind of out of it now, but did you feel the effects of that?
Absolutely. What you would feel is, they stayed with you,
Right.
but maybe not at the same level they were giving to you before. And not just corporate, that's foundation, individual support. You have individuals who may have written a check for $500 back in the early 90s, late 80s. When the recession hit, it became $250, $200. So yeah, we definitely felt the hit of the recession, but no one ever left the organization for whatever reason. We continue to have a strong presence corporatively. We also have a strong presence with foundations and grants, and a strong presence individually throughout Rhode Island.
I always found that people, even in those tough economic times, that people were still willing to dig into their pockets and their purses to give. Like you said, maybe not quite as much, and even if it was down on their list of priorities as far as first pay all the bills, but something they were able to willing
Always.
to give something.
Always. It's Special Olympics is going through a transition right now. It's always been, it's a feel-good organization. It's a feel-good organization. We kind of want to move it a little bit more toward a little bit more of a sense of urgency. Many of our athletes still to this day have numerous health issues. And it's time for those athletes and families in our organization to demand greater services to help address those issues. So where we've always been, I love what you guys do. I love the work you do with your athletes. It's such a feel-good, wonderful. Well, there's also now a transition toward, hey, something, we need to be more revolutionary. We need to be more demanding. We need to reach out and say, hey, our athletes deserve certain services. There was a study recently done in Louisiana. They took 100 athletes and gave them eye tests. 75 were in need of glasses and didn't have them.
Wow.
So people with intellectual disabilities tend to come with a number of health issues that are not being addressed. So, we're trying to get the word out there through the media and through various other methods, let people know, hey, you know, there's a strong need, and these people are deserving of better health care.
How do you take that to the next level, though? You can say that they're in need. I want you to know that our athletes are in need of better health care. So that's the first step, but what do you do to actually get that better health care? Do you make people aware of it, and then somebody out there watching will go, you know what, I think I can help? Or what do you do?
There's a program in Special Olympics called Healthy Athletes. And each year when we have our summer games, this year May 29th, 30th, 31st down at the University of Rhode Island, we have docs come down to do health screenings for our athletes. But that's not enough because they're not being monitored. They're being seen on one day. So we started a partner with Memorial Hospital in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, who are now doing health screenings, monitoring, taking our athletes from the diagnosis stage right through the treatment stage. That's critically important. So that now they have a place to go, to be seen, to be monitored, and get the quality health care that they deserve. We also took our message to Washington. Every year we have a Capitol Hill Day where we go to Washington, meet with our legislators, and we delivered the message that we need funding. We need funding to help support our Healthy Athlete program, and that our athletes are deserving of the resources that are out there that would improve their quality of life.
How was it decided, you know what, we need to take another step here and get better health, programs for our athletes? What happened one day when it was decided that instead of it just being a, hey, you do great work, to, hey, here's what we need,
Yeah, I think when you spend time with our athletes, get to know our athletes, work with them on a regular basis, you recognize that there is a strong need out there for medical services. I think that's where it all came from. It came from the grassroots organizations of our local programs, then to our state programs. And when we deliver the message, there is an act before Congress called the Eunice Kennedy Shriver Act that has a component in there to support healthy athletes. And that's the message we brought to our legislators. Help get this act passed or repassed, and so that we have the resources necessary to address these issues.
We're going to take a break. I want you to give out the website for people to go and learn more.
Sure, www.specialolympicsri.org.
What's on the website for people to see?
All of our events, all of our volunteer forms, volunteer opportunities. There's always that big fat button, donate, that sits right smack in the middle of our homepage. You can't miss it. So donations, we're looking for people who want to volunteer. We're looking for athlete registrations. It also gives you a little bit of a history of the organization, and it just gives you a background on how to get your son or your daughter or your brother or sister involved in Special Olympics.
Dennis DeJesus, he is the CEO of Special Olympics Rhode Island. We have much more to get to, so we'll take a short break. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest, Dennis DeJesus, CEO, Special Olympics Rhode Island. We've learned a lot so far. Other things we have to get to. For example, springtime now, as we shoot this, heading into summer. Let's talk about the summer games.
Yeah, very, very busy time period at Special Olympics. When winter comes to a close and we get into spring, everybody wants to get outdoors and everyone wants to play and get active. So we have our annual summer games. It's the highlight of our sports calendar. May 29, 30, and 31 down at the University of Rhode Island. We welcome over 1,500 athletes for the weekend. They stay in the college dormitories. They enjoy the college food. I don't know if we can really say they enjoy.
In quotes, use your own determination for what enjoy means. Yeah.
Exactly. We have close to 2,000 volunteers that come down to URI for the weekend and countless spectators. So clearly it is the highlight of our sports calendar. And we do a lot of things in addition to our Healthy Athlete program, which we mentioned earlier, where we have our docs come in and give screenings. We also put an emphasis this year on physical fitness. We're going to do some Zumba classes. We're going to do some yoga classes. We need, big priority, we need to get our athletes off the couch and out in front of from the TV and get them out and be very, very active. Obesity is a big issue. And we're going to try to address that as best we possibly can by putting an emphasis on that at our summer games. So May 29, 30, 31, down at the University of Rhode Island, I mentioned to you 2,000 volunteers, always a need for more.
Yeah. What do you need specifically? Does it matter what their skill set is? Whatever you can volunteer for, we'll take you.
Exactly. You must be over 16 years of age due to insurance liability issues. But you know, whatever time you can give, whatever time increment, whether it's an hour or 3 hours or 5 hours, we'll find something to match your skill set, regardless if you have an introduction into athletics or not. There is always something that you can do to help us during that weekend. We're extremely busy. We cover almost the entire campus with activities. So it's a very, very busy weekend for us. It's an Olympic village where our tents are set up and where athletes rest in between competitions. One of the highlights is our opening ceremonies where all of the teams march into the football field at URI on Friday evening to kick off the games. The lighting of the cauldron by our police, fire, and correction officers as part of the torch run. All lead into a spectacular weekend. Saturday night, big dance, social interaction. The dance is, again, one of the highlights. It's just a fun weekend. Like I said, if we get you there, we got you hooked. You'll come back again.
You know, you mentioned, getting off the couch and worried about obesity. The horrible winter that we had, you would think that they would be have cabin fever and want to get out because it was just a horrible winter.
Right. We saw that. We heard that. We have winter sports. We have basketball.
I was going to ask you, what does your calendar for a year look like?
Well, basically, spring sports are anything that we can do outside. It would be track and field. It would be softball. It would be soccer. Indoor sports when the weather gets cold. Volleyball, indoor volleyball, basketball. But the athletes would come and they would say to us, "Can't wait to get outside. Can't wait to do track and field. Yeah. Can't wait to do cycling. Can't wait to do all of the activities outdoors that the spring and the summer brings." And you're right. This winter, which was absolutely brutal, we're seeing more and more signs that our athletes need to be motivated to get going and fight those issues of obesity, and that's going to be an emphasis down at summer games.
What other events do you want to talk about if you want to look further ahead past the summer games? Because like you just said, you got stuff going on all year.
Yeah, like I said, we go January right through December. So our fall calendar is very, very busy. Our fall calendar, the highlight is probably softball and flag football. We introduced flag football a couple years ago because a couple of athletes came to us and said, "Gee, we watch football on TV. Why can't we play football?" And all of a sudden, just like that, it became one of the most popular sports we offered. Everybody wants to play football, male and female, I might add. So that's become very, very popular, fall sport, softball, flag football. And then when the winter comes, we go back indoors. But like I said, 25 sports year-round, January through December. But, not a week goes by where someone says to me, "I know what Special Olympics is. Those are the games at URI." And I say, "Oh, it's so much more than that."
Yeah, but that's a big one. That's why people know it.
It's the highlight. We'll get a lot of press coverage for that. But, as we talked earlier off camera, we're doing so much more, Sean, than just athletics. Healthcare is now becoming a priority. And I want to touch upon jobs and employment.
That's something that, it's one thing to play sports, and that's great, but it's sort of like the big horizon, isn't it? Employment, jobs. Talk about that a little bit.
When you have a son or a daughter with intellectual disabilities and they're enrolled in school and they can be enrolled up to age 21, you pretty well know from year to year exactly what they're going to do, what school they're going to be in, who their teachers are going to be, and there's some structure to their life. When someone turns 22, life changes dramatically, and you're now into a transition period. And many of our athletes just really want to find a job, a meaningful job, meaningful employment.
They want to get on with their life.
They do. They do. They want to be the confidence that they earned or that they found on the athletic fields should translate into success or with a job or employment. But there's still the stigma, there's still the prejudice, there's still the misconception that someone with an intellectual disability may or may not be able to handle a job or employment. We just started a program back in the fall of 2014 with New England Tech. And New England Tech did an automotive program. They invited, we've had 4 sessions with about 14 athletes in each session. They're learning how to detail a car, how to take an automobile, wash it, armor all the interior, vacuum it, check the fluids, and get it ready for resale. Very popular program. Everyone was excited, but now what we need to do is take the next step. Now you've had your training. Now how do we take those young men and women who have gone through that training and find them employment somewhere in the automotive business? So again, that's one of the things that I've been working on, trying to reach out to the owners of dealerships throughout Rhode Island and asking them for an opportunity, just a chance, just one, and to show that our athletes can handle the responsibility. And we're talking to other major companies and corporations throughout Rhode Island about job opportunities and workforce development for those with intellectual disabilities. On the national average, 65% of those men and women with an intellectual disability are not employed. That's not healthy. That's not good. And believe you me, once given the opportunity, they will shine and they will be productive members of the workforce.
I would have to imagine the employers who eventually bring them on board are probably pleasantly surprised at their work ethic, their willingness to want to participate and to show what a good job they can do, whatever it is they're doing.
Exactly. And because they want to work, they are eager to get to work on time, put in a good day, prove their value, prove their worth. And I think that is such an important part of when an employer comes. You're going to get a solid employee who really wants to prove that he's worthy of holding this position. We hired a young woman, one of our athletes in our office, and I got to be the first one to say, maybe I was stuck with a little bit of prejudice because I didn't think she could handle some of the things that she could. And now she is just doing great, great work for us. A beautiful presence in the front of our office building, and thank you letters, notes, organizing athlete evaluations, doing everything that an administrative assistant would normally do. And she surprised me and proved me wrong.
She's got it for the CEO job eventually, right out there. So tell me, what's the day-to-day duties of the CEO of Special Olympics Rhode Island? I would imagine it's something different all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, you never know really what to expect. But when Mrs. Shriver founded this organization in 1968, she said no athlete will pay to participate. And in Rhode Island, we've stayed true to that policy. None of our athletes pay a participation fee nor a registration fee. So although the title is CEO, I really find myself being the Chief Development Officer of the organization, of the agency. Raising money is extremely important. We have a $1.5 million budget. So it's incumbent upon us to get out there, and it's incumbent upon me to make the connections necessary to raise the money and raise the resources necessary to provide opportunities for our athletes.
Let's take one more break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. So that is our show for today. Dennis DeJesus, CEO, Special Olympics Rhode Island. You want to give out the website one more time for people to go and check it out?
Absolutely. www.specialolympicsri.org, or you can call us directly at the office, 401-349-4900.
And remember that big donate button that's right on there, right?
Right smack in the middle of that website.
Dennis, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thanks for being on. We learned a lot. Hope you'll come on again soon.
Thank you, Sean.
That is our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. Until next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.